I would go to the nut and hey, what's up guys? I wanted to talk today about how to make our guitar feel better. There are three options. First, if you have 40 seconds. Second option, if you have 5 minutes. And the third option, if you have maybe a couple of days or a week. The first option, if you only have 40 seconds and someone gives you a guitar. It happened to me quite a few times that I had to play different guitars that were not mine and were not necessarily set up the way I like guitars to be. It happens a lot in music convention like NAMM or different situations you play different companies' guitars, which are oftentimes great instruments but not always set up the way I want it to be. Specifically when you play jazz guitars and acoustic guitars, it's often the case that the action is super high. The truss rod is really, you have like this really big curve, and then it's just harder to play, especially if you're used to certain action. I used to play with pretty high action and 13s for many years, but then I really changed the action, and also I like it because it feels better, it's much easier to play, and I appreciate that. I don't want to struggle. Music is hard as it is, emotionally, musically, you know. And then I just don't want to struggle when I'm playing. I just wanna make it feel good. The first thing to do, I'll take my pick. How do you say that? I'll take my pick, which this is just a Fender medium pick, which I really like these days. In any case, I'll take the pick. This pick is a little too light, so I'm gonna borrow this gravity pick from myself. And you just need a little heavier thing. It doesn't have to be a pick actually. Sometimes I'll use like something heavier, but don't go too wild. I would go to the nut and push each string down, like really give it like close to the nut, a good bend. If you see this, I hope you do. Like really break it, and then it goes lower. All right, so you see this is the action, and this would be where I push it. This is the break point. Then I'll do the same thing on the other side. We'll go each string close to the bridge here and really push it, give it a good push till I bend it a little bit. Then I'll do this, kind of bounce the string a little bit because it's gonna be out of tune. And then I do this a little bit because the truss rod is active, hopefully, and then you just kind of like make sure everything is intact and everything is kind of like working. Give it like a little hug. I'll do this too because it changes the tension. You can also push here if you want. Some people do it. I don't usually do it. I usually just push here and do this, and then I'll retune it. Now, guitar is a hard instrument to play as it is, so just ask for a tuner. Just tune it, it's fine. I mean, I used to not do that, but then I was like, just gonna use a tuner. So this is a tuner. Great. Awesome. Wasn't that off? And then, ta-dam. It's much easier to play. Especially when we're talking about lines. So if you're just playing chords around here, maybe it doesn't matter as much, but once you start going to the higher registers, right? So you want everything to be a little bit more comfortable, especially when you're playing lines and ideas that just like need a little bit more maybe lower action and just like a little bit more fluidity. Does that make sense? In any case, I think that really helps. And there is an interesting cycle, right? So I feel a lot of times when we pick up an instrument and it's not comfortable, it's not necessarily even the instrument itself. Sometimes it's the sound, right? So if you have some knobs for treble and bass, like in an electric guitar, right? So I would roll some off sometimes, a little bit, especially if it's a situation when you gotta feel comfortable right away and the amp is not your amp, the guitar is not your usual guitar. I would really try hard to think what is the element that kind of bugs me in the sound and makes this situation not comfortable. There is an interesting cycle of sound, so when we hear the sound not the way we want it to be, we feel less comfortable and then we play not as well sometimes. And I'm really bugged by that, right? Naturally, we all are. One of the things that I'm trying to do when that happens, I'm trying to kind of calm myself down and be like, okay, what is the problem? Like, instead of like everything is awful, I can't play today, like, okay, what's not comfortable? The guitar, what about the guitar? Is it the sound? Okay, let me, you know, is it too bright, not bright enough? Can I fix something really quick with the amp? And that's really helpful with, you know, recording sessions as well, like taking an extra 5 minutes, or like just trying to, you know, get the mix in the headphones, or no headphones, or half headphones, or whatever works for you, but just trying to figure out a place that you're comfortable enough to create. And a lot of times spending extra few seconds, if it's pushing the string here, or turning the treble knob a little bit down, or the volume, or something that could have a serious effect on our playing, which is really awesome because it's a really easy fix. So the second thing I would do, now I have two guitars, awkward, would be adjusting the bridge, right? So we have two knobs here, a knob here and a knob here. So I would just lower these and try to balance it. A lot of guitars have it. Most acoustic guitars do not have it. That's why I'm showing you my electric. So again, I would just lower these, and this is a really quick fix. You can just lower it really quick. Sometimes it's a little hard to do that. So I would push the E strings or the low strings a little bit. I would push these a little bit higher because they're really heavy and there's a lot of tension, and then you can lower it a little bit more easily. The same thing here. Then balance it, and then you play, and amazing. Number 3 is the truss rod. What is the truss rod? So basically, inside of each guitar, at least big percentage of them, we have here, it's a little sand, I'm sorry, I was at the page. We have basically a metal bar that holds the neck straight, and you can adjust it. And you know, weather and different things like humidity affects it tremendously, and it's a really, really easy fix as well. You just open the screws here. There was a little thing here, I opened it for y'all, and then put the truss rod, this kind of hexagon, or I don't know even how to call it, but this little thing, you put it here, and then you adjust it. One side is to tighten it, one side is to loosen it. If you tighten it, it's basically getting straighter, which creates a lower action because the strings and the neck, this part would be straighter, and then it will be easier to play. Again, the only thing is truss rods are not functioning 100% equally, and the neck is also, it's a piece of wood, so it's never really completely balanced. So some of them would be more active around this area, and therefore if you push it too much, this is going to be like, instead of this sort of curve, it will be straight, or even kind of like bumpy, and then this would be completely buzzy. Now also do this thing with the truss rod just a little bit, kind of just give it a little hug. And after I adjust the truss rod, I'll do that again, just a little bit, making sure all is balanced and all is active, because the truss rod is active almost immediately, but this is wood, so it's going to take some time until it's completely into effect. So this is kind of accelerating it a little bit. What I would do, I would find a balance. You know, you don't need to be afraid, but once it's too tight, stop there, because I broke the truss rod. I did. I broke my truss rod on this guitar here. So I was very fanatically adjusting this guitar, and I broke it, and then basically I had a new truss rod installed in this guitar. It was kind of sad. I was in Canada. I went to Banff, and I was trying to make it more comfortable for me to play, and I thought if I'll straighten just a little bit, you know, just a little bit, it will be better. And I remember telling myself that it might break, and sure did. It did. It just snapped. It was just like poof. And then the guitar just curved like this, and I couldn't play it. I had to basically take the whole neck off. It was very expensive, but it worked. I mean, after a couple of months, it was fine. I could play it again. But the interesting thing, in that moment of time, when I was at Banff in Canada, it's basically like a month or something of kind of music retreat, right? So we just played with a lot of people and wrote a lot of music, which was great. But they got me this replacement guitar, an Ibanez, for, I guess it was like a $500 guitar. Great, you know, it felt great, sounded great. I was like, it's awesome. So you know, that's a different conversation about gear. We can make a lot of instruments that are not expensive feel great. There isn't much difference between a $500 Ibanez guitar and this guitar. Here's how the guitar sounds after the squishing of the strings and the truss rod adjustment. Yep, works. Sometimes when I take a guitar that is not mine and I need to play it real quick and it's indeed a hard guitar to play, I'll change the position of my pick. So instead of being here or here, I'll go more forward and toward the fingerboard, because it's a little bit easier. It's a little softer to play here. The sound is also a little bit nicer. It's kind of softer, right? Versus a little bit more obvious with the pick. So much brighter, which, you know, has its accuracy and place, but sometimes you need that softness both for the sound and both just like playing wise. It's a little bit easier. So that's another quick fix that I would recommend checking out when you're like on the spot and you need to play something real quick. Last thing, if you have more time and you have an acoustic guitar, I would take this, I would loosen all the strings. So you just kind of loosen all the strings. It's pretty obvious. And then you take this piece of plastic, it's usually plastic or sometimes it's bone. You take this out, and then what I would do, I just like shave it off. So that was much higher. A lot of people would play acoustic guitars and they just want this kind of sound of, and they don't care that the action is really high. Bridge would sometimes be really high, so I'll just take it out and I'll literally shave it. I'll take a nail kind of thing, the one that it's like longer, and you just shave it on it. I mean, you can use sandpaper or whatever you want. Shave it and then make sure it's kind of balanced, and then I'll put it back, and I'll do that quite a few times, but it really does the trick. It's like a couple of minutes. If you have more time, an electric guitar, you can change the tailpiece, you can change the bridge. The point is, like, the length of the guitar, the length of the strings affects the sound, it affects the sustain. So the longer the strings are, you have more sustain. The position of the tailpiece itself is also important, and the break where the string break here and here is also quite important. So again, this is being very, very specific. I was kind of concerned or a little bit obsessed about these elements. I would not recommend getting there. I used to change it like all the freaking time. And then I decided to fix these things. So for example, the position of the bridge, because that was a wooden bridge, now it's half metal, half wood. So I glued it to the guitar so it doesn't move, because I was freaking out all the time. I just moved it a little bit, or the flight, you know, it would move after the flight and I'll be very upset. So I started stabilizing things so I don't do that. I recommend that too, after you do that a little bit. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you for taking the time. Please subscribe. Please share this video. Please comment and tell me if this makes sense, and tell me what should be our next video. Ours. Namaste.